We just live in a different society now, one in which, from a mental standpoint, we don't use as much of our mental capacity as we should be using.
Oh, so true.
A lot of the work is done for us. Now, what's really strange about it is that you can hand, a senior person, probably someone in their 60s, 70s, a computer, and they'll just freeze. And you can hand that same computer to a 3-year-old, and they'll be like, they'll have Word and Excel and PowerPoint up. And so in that capacity, they're able to think better, quicker, and easier. But, when you look at people who are a little bit older that come from, the Gen X or the baby boomers population, it is more about, listen, how can we move in a way that is, quality time versus, the quantity, the quickness of how we can complete something. So
you hit it on the head. In my industry, there's a lot of rehabs. It's about quantity.
Yeah.
I talk to one all the time. They're like, well, we have too many clients. I'm like, but somebody's paying you money to help them. That person's trusting you, and you're sitting here telling me that you can't do what you need to do, and you always have excuses, but you're not changing the fact that you're taking the money.
Right.
And I think, one of my biggest downfalls in life is I used to get jobs and, have every reason I'd take the money. I didn't give a damn until later in life I realized, not the way to do it. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, until we keep getting away with things, what's going to happen? Yeah. You keep doing it. Or if you get in trouble, you can flip on somebody else to get them in trouble. When I was in high school, I'll never forget, I took a test, and there's a guy named Bill Ryan. Bill Ryan's father was a lawyer. So at the end of the day, Mr. Leger says, and Mr. Leger, good man, he goes, Bill Ryan? Another paper, he goes, Bill Ryan? He's like, does anybody not have a paper? He looks at me and he goes, you copied the fucking name too? I'll never forget that. I was like, and I thought, shit, I could have got away with it. But it was great. He's like, guys, I want to tell you something. If you're going to cheat, make sure you get some of the answers wrong and don't sign your, and then I got home, my mother gave me a slashing that, she was so upset. But the reality is we always want gratification rather than doing the work. In many instances, they're, like you said, generational too. Like you have 2 daughters, both great careers. Both have worked their behinds off to get there, correct? Mm-hmm. And so there's no shortcuts for what they want to do.
Right.
In the medical field, there are none.
Yeah. And again, it's society and it's the generation you're born in. The millennials are, they're right on the cusp of that whole, immediate gratification feeling. But, your Gen Z, your Gen A, like they're all about the quickness. Like, I want to be doing multiple things and I want to be doing it as quickly as I possibly can do it to get it done. And in a lot of those instances, the connection, the feelings, the emotions, those types of things are dismissed and pushed to the side. And that's where, you start to really lose a bit of your human or humanity.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can't relate to someone.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
It's like you think about, like you just said. I interviewed a girl the other day. She wanted to come into detox and treatment. Family's paying money. She goes, I'm only coming for 5 days. My family's going on a vacation. Called her mother, and I said, well, Mother's like, she's not going anywhere with us. The girl stayed 5 days, and she left. She went out. She got in a car wreck. But she knew 5 days. And the mother was like, okay, they had set boundaries. It's all about immediate gratification. Or it's like this, if you have a problem, take the time. Like cognitively, it takes time to get to where you want to go. You can't just say, I got it. It's a daily practice. It's like athletes, like you mentioned in the show earlier, Gilbert Arenas. It's the same repetition, because repetition, no matter if it's mental, physical, spiritual, whatever it is, the same thought. Once you teach yourself something, it's kind of hard to unlearn it.
Yeah. These kids grow up so quickly these days. And it's not about taking your time. I come across and deal with families that are very afraid to have certain conversations with their kids. And I'm like, wait a minute, they're your children. You should be able to have any conversation with them that you like. But, because the kids grow up so quickly and the technology feeds them information so fast that, they don't go through the things that we went through growing up. There were so many people that had an influence on us growing up.
Oh, hell yes.
You know, it was a community that helped
Yep.
raise us versus now it's technology, and it's a different type of community that raises these kids. These kids are exposed to things that are, quite frankly, you know, it's scary when you think about it for, you know, someone who's, you know, 5 to 12 years old, the type of content and information that they're exposed to. We just weren't exposed to that. And it's a different mentality, it's a different mindset, and it leads to a different type of engagement in the world with these types of people.
Well, you hit it on the head. Did you ever go to a restaurant and you see a table? I went to a restaurant the other day. This lady had 3 little girls. I mean, they were great. Each one of them had a tablet, whatever the hell it is, 3 different cartoons on. They were all sitting on one side. She was sitting on the other, talking on the phone. So it's kind of like, it was just an interesting thing. And the waitress and I were looking at her. Now, they're going to be distracted by that. It's going to say, there's no communication at the table. And I shit you not, because I love, the girls are eating, watching it, and it's like food's falling. And I'm thinking, my God, you're probably 5 to 9 years old. And the mother just wasn't really paying attention. So they're letting technology babysit, letting technology rather than communicate. And you see that at restaurants all the time where people don't sit down and communicate. I eat by myself, so there's not that much anybody can communicate. But you just see that, and it's like sad because I don't know, when we were younger, sitting at the dinner table, that's where a lot of conversation.
That's all the conversation.
And
you know, how was your day?
Yeah,
How'd it
and
go?
now you see it everywhere. And then parents, it's because I don't want the baby crying. I don't want the child being upset. You know, okay, talk to them. But when you start doing that, what happens is when you get older as a child, that adds into an abandonment issue.